A couple things. First of all,
do.
Brady and Belichick have both come out and said at various times that their support and congratulations to Trump has been personal, which is fine. You know,
sure.
That's how we treat our friends. Whatever you think of,
sure.
whatever else goes on, if your friend is doing something on a personal level, you're happy for them. Secondly, yes, a lot of people did vote, just to the politics of it briefly, against what you just mentioned in terms of Obama's legacy. Actually, more people voted for Hillary than for Donald Trump when last counted. She was leading by a little bit in the popular vote.
No, I was just talking about the people who voted for Trump. That's
sure. That's not how. But as much as it's a popular repudiation of one idea, it's actually a greater affirmation of that idea when you count the popular vote. Of course, that's not the way we elect presidents in this country, and there's no challenge there. It's the Electoral College. And finally, before I get to the substance of Brady and LeBron, of course, now that a president has been elected, we all rally around that president. Whatever you thought before the election, you start with a clean slate and you hope for the best. It doesn't mean you support everything that previous candidate has supported in their campaign, but you hope for the best and you hope the office appeals to their better angels and all that sort of thing. Of course, we are all Americans. Now, does this prove that in spite of the popular vote, even had the popular vote gone to Trump, which when last counted it didn't, does this prove that somehow Americans relate to Brady as he represents Trump for them more than they relate to LeBron James as he represents Hillary, Obama? I think the answer is no, and let me tell you why. What this election showed was that even in spite of changing demographics in this country, white people still represent the largest voting bloc in the country if they respond to appeals to racial identity politics. If they respond to that appeal, white people, if they vote as a bloc, lockstep, are still the most powerful force in American politics and maybe the American economy, too, as this relates to sports, as they vote with their wallets, so to speak. But that's only if the multiracial coalition that twice elected Obama and very nearly elected Hillary Clinton, who would have been the first female president, who got very close, would have been the first female president in our country's history. I think that should be mentioned. When that multiracial coalition is inspired, as Obama was able to inspire them to an extent beyond which Hillary was able to inspire them, if they're inspired, that is, in fact, not the kind of white monolith that lockstep voting bloc who appeals to white identity politics, but the multiracial coalition, if inspired, is actually the strongest force in this country. And so if we want to somehow relate, which is unfair to Brady and LeBron in a sense, Brady to a white identity politics voting group and LeBron to the multiracial coalition, I would say that there's no one who is more kind of American than LeBron. He has been the most covered athlete since he came into the league, and that is because he is inspiring. If he were not an inspirational kind of athlete, then I think you would be right. And Brady has a more obvious appeal to that monolith I described. But LeBron is an inspirational athlete. He does inspire people. So I don't think Americans relate to anyone, if you want to say Americans, more than LeBron James.
Well, let me say this. First of all, I'm certainly not questioning in any way the inspirational commodity that LeBron James is. There's no denying that. He's the global iconic figure in the world of sports. He's #1. We get that. And he's an incredible role model and a great person. But when you talk about white identity politics, if there were ever an election where it was applicable, it would be this one.
Sure.
We can't negate that. We also have to pay attention to this fact, Max. Barack Obama garnered 69 million votes in 2008. In 2012, he got 65 million. Mitt Romney got about 60 million. He got about 65.6 million. Mitt Romney got about 60 million. Both Hillary and Donald Trump were hovering around 58. They're both at around 59 right now. Even though the votes are still being tabulated, chances are millions of voters did not show up to the polls, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show as it pertains to Mr. Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, sir.
My point to you about that is that by virtue of the fact that those millions who showed up to vote one way or another in an election involving Obama and elected not to, as it pertained to Hillary Rodham Clinton, It was an inability to galvanize the troops per se.
Right.
Now,
what I mean is LeBron is not an uninspirational candidate, so to speak, to that multiracial coalition. He
but we
is
weren't saying that. But we weren't saying that. We were comparing the two because of the obvious element of white identity politics that have infiltrated this particular election.
Sure.
Nobody's trying to imply that LeBron isn't motivational or anything. You're just comparing the two in terms of what identifies.
No doubt about it. Along those lines, if you look at where the NFL is, and Tom Brady, as much as anyone, the face of the NFL right now, it's been in relative decline. The NBA actually has the wind at its back right now, and LeBron is the face of the NBA. The NBA is entering another golden age for the NBA, suggesting also that LeBron is resonating with Americans, you know?
No, what I'm saying is LeBron is going to resonate with Americans anytime he's playing because he's LeBron. What I'm saying is when you step away from sports and then you get into the man, the wonderful human being, the man, the role model, the father, the husband, and all the things in between that he is, what he has been synonymous with throughout the latter part of this election is his support for the left candidate because of his affection, affinity, and friendship with the current incumbent, which happens to be our President Barack Obama. So if you have a whole bunch of folks that are connected to white identity politics and they have a problem with what they've seen President Obama doing for whatever reason, regardless of whether we agree with them or disagree with them, what is undeniable is the fact that they were making the case that